Hello and welcome to elephant trunk pose as well as 8-angle pose yoga tutorial video. I'm Veronique and I'm so excited that you're here. Please join me on your mat when you're ready and have 2 blocks by your side. We'll start just seated. You can have your blocks nearby. And then you'll take a hold of the right foot with the right hand. And then you'll draw the right knee back. And so think of this more like a seated half happy baby pose. And then inhale, lengthening. And then exhale to bend. And then we'll do that twice more. And just opening up into the hip. Good. And then you'll take this right leg and you'll throw it over the shoulder. One of the key things here, and I'll just show you from the front as well, is oftentimes I see the knee is very far down and it makes it very challenging to lift up. So if there's a way that you can bring the knee as high up onto the shoulder as possible and then really bring that foot into the midline, so you're almost kind of like hooking your leg and kind of think of like the elephant baby, the trunk to the tail, that you're really nice and integrated and drawn in, then you can find the shape a little bit more accessible. So you're here, you're bringing the right knee over the shoulder and you're trying to get it as high up as you can, taking care that if you're wearing shorts that you have a towel or something so you have a little bit of traction here. And then you can play just planting your palms on the blocks and then just lifting the left leg up and setting it down, lifting it up and setting it down, lifting it up and setting it down. Good, and then we'll take a break, extend through the right leg, maybe popcorn out through the knees, maybe stretch through the shoulders. Give yourself a moment. It gets your heart rate going, right? It's like exciting to find these different arm balances. So you can stay there or we'll add on, reclaiming your right leg, throwing it over the shoulder, placing your blocks and then negotiating. They're not too far forward, they're not too far back. You want at least part of your hips behind you so that you can bring your hips back in space. So you're sort of trying to find chaturanga arms in a way. Bringing your palms to ground, looking forward, and then this time keeping your left heel on the ground, you're just going to lift your bum off of the ground and set it down, and then lift just your seat and set it down, and then just one more time, lifting just the seat and set it down. Good, and then extend through the right leg, maybe draw a roller coaster out through the wrists, interlace the fingers, open and close. Good. Come back to your breath. You can stay playing, just lifting the leg, just lifting the hips, or maybe we'll start to put it all together if you feel ready. So coming into it pretty readily so that you can keep your energy for the actual shape, right? Trying to not exhaust ourselves with all of the preparatory positions. We'll bring the right leg in and then trying to bring the knee back, throw it over the shoulder, try to get it as high up as you can, plugging the right leg into the midline, and then see if you can lift everything up, and then set it down, and then set everything up, and bring it down, and then one more time, lift everything up, and set it down. Yes, and then extending out through the right leg, popcorning out through the legs. Whew, let's just take a reverse tabletop on the forearms. Give a little stretch into the shoulders, into the abdominal wall, maybe forwards and backwards. And then sometimes just pedaling out or like wriggling through the fingers. Give your wrists a moment. Good. All right, so that's sort of the preparatory position, or at least the way that I learned it coming into 8-angle pose. So I wanted to show you that one first. And then we'll take this into 8-angle. One of the things that is really helpful just in terms of strengthening is to really hold the elephant trunk pose. There's sometimes a tendency to rush into the 8-angle poses as if that was the destination. However, each shape has its purpose, just like coming into your chaturanga for the entire exhale before you ride the wave of the inhale, or however you want to sync your breath. It is such a beautiful shape to really find that strengthening into your body. So we'll come into this 8-angle pose after just a breath of our elephant trunk pose, just so that we're mindful about our energy conservation and getting into the shape before our wrists fully give up on us. So we'll come into it just as we did before. I'll just show you the front view so you can maybe see better what's going on into the 8 angles. We're setting up elephant trunk pose just as we did before, and then I'll cue you as we go. If you'd rather watch the first time, you're so welcome to. We'll throw the right leg over the shoulder and bring your hands onto blocks, or if you feel like you're ready to bring your palms onto the ground, you can do it with palms directly onto the ground. And then we're lifting everything up for the elephant trunk pose. And then crossing your left ankle over the right, we're going to shoot the legs over to the right. I like to look over to the right like, oh wow, my feet are over there. And taking a moment to admire. And then maybe you come back through your elephant trunk pose. Whew, and then sit yourself down. It provides like a great sort of appreciation of just sitting on the ground, right? Once we do these other sort of more complex things into the body. Okay, so I'll show all of that on the second side, as well as to make sure that you are also doing this on the second side so that you are even. So take a moment if you need to take rest, feel free. And then when you are ready, we'll come into that seated position. Just have your blocks nearby. Take a hold of your left leg and then find those sort of movements into the hip, lengthening, finding some lubrication into the left hip, and then throwing the left leg over the shoulder, bringing the blocks underneath the hands if you'd like them. And then this time we're just lifting the right leg up and setting it down, lifting it up and setting it down, and then just one more time lifting it up and setting it down. Good. Moving the blocks out of the way, lengthening. Just take a moment, maybe take a forward fold this time if that feels good. Maybe some cat-cows into the spine, circles into whatever joints are calling to have some mobility. And then we'll bring the left leg over the shoulder once again. Try to bring it as high up onto the shoulder as possible. And then I like to use this opposite hand to almost like encourage the left leg over to the right shoulder. That's as much as I'm trying to keep it high, high, high up. And then ground your palms. Continue to hug that left leg into the midline. And then this time lifting your hips and setting them down and lifting the hips and setting them down. So this one, the foot stays on the ground, just the hips are lifting, and then setting it down, and then release. You can extend through the left leg, take a moment, maybe take a butterfly shape, stir into the hips. And so this in-between movement, it's optional, right? Just kind of feel, sometimes if you arrive and you'd rather just kind of come into stillness and let everything settle, maybe you do that. All right, so we're going to come to lift everything up. It's a second side, it's a new day, it's a new moment. Anything could happen in the best possible way. So we'll throw the left leg over the shoulder. Try to get it as high up as you can. Bring your hands, make sure the blocks are about shoulders width, right? So you set yourself up for success. And then this time you're lifting everything up and setting it down and lifting everything up and setting it down and lifting everything up and setting it down, and then lengthening through the left leg. Find some movement. Or maybe not, right? Just come into stillness. Whew. My heart is going. Let's see what my fancy watch tells me. It's so fun to know my beats per minute. I just recently got this 100 beats per minute. So that's pretty good. I don't know what to do with this information, but it's just interesting. So we'll bring the left leg over the shoulder. We're coming into that elephant trunk pose just for a moment, conserving our energy, and then taking it into the 8-angle pose, crossing the opposite ankle on top. And you can play here too. I like the opposite foot to cross over, but I've also seen people to cross it under. So wherever you can feel like the inner thighs are able to come in and kind of suction into the center, and you feel nice and strong and vibrant and buoyant and all of the things that you want to feel in an arm balance, you do that variation, right? So you can play which ankle you'd like to have on top. So just showing the front view so you can see what's happening. We're coming back into that elephant trunk pose, throwing the leg over the shoulder. And once again, blocks are optional. And if the ground feels far away, you could also experiment with having the blocks on the second height. Just make sure you're really nice and stable, particularly if they're foam blocks that tend to be a bit more wobbly. You want to make sure that the block doesn't kind of fall out from under you. So make sure your palms are like really fixed and really grounded, and you feel secure and safe and comfortable. Okay, so when you're ready, we'll come to lift everything off of the ground, holding the elephant trunk pose for just a beat, and then crossing the right ankle either over or under, and then start to shoot the legs over to the left. And then maybe you gaze at your feet over here at the left like, wow, that's pretty cool. And then come back into your elephant trunk pose for just a beat. And then set yourself down. Whew, my, oh my. Some things to consider with these shapes. It may be strength in the core, in the arms, maybe in the hip flexors and the adductors. It could be even strength or mobility into your joints as a whole. So play with it. Make sure you're breathing. That's the most important part. Have a little bit of levity. Maybe smile. I know sometimes it's like when you're trying to find something, it can get pretty serious. So please have fun with it. It's meant to be just another tool to approach the yoga practice, right? Like, what is the challenge? How can I breathe through it? And then how can I just have a smile along the way? I hope this tutorial was helpful for you, that you had fun, that you got to play, whether you found the shape or not. It's just meant to awaken different parts inside of the body and the mind. Feel free to explore past tutorials as well. Share this with any friends if you found it to be helpful, and thank you so much for practicing.